everyone, my name is Angeli. So in this video, we are going to talk about Nclex processing. This is a licensure examination for nurses here in the United States. So I know whenever you hear of America, there are things that comes to your mind like the long process, mahal, mahirap. So I decided to invite a person whose name is familiar to so many nurses as she helped them in this process. And I know she is the best person to talk to about this. So allow me to welcome Miss Jean Olivar.
Thank you, Miss Angeli.
And first of all, Miss Jean, I really want to thank you for coming here, especially when you said yes to my invitation in my house. I was so excited and thankful. And like I said, thank you for letting us discuss about Nclex, especially to help our fellow kababayan, especially those nurses who don't even know where to start the process. So for my very first question, can you tell our viewers what Nclex is?
Nclex is a National Council licensure examination for nurses, for registered nurses. So for those nurses who are still in the Philippines or out or all over the world who wants to come here in the US and wants to fulfill their American dream, they need to pass that Nclex exam. So it is a computer adaptive test that the NCSBN is delivering for the nurses.
For some nurses, I know whenever they say, I finished the examination at 75, 140. Is it like a 145 questions?
Right now, due to COVID, the maximum number of items that you have to take is 145. So the minimum is 75, maximum is 145. So it will take maybe around 3 hours for you to finish the 145 questions. If the computer stops at 75, it doesn't mean that you pass or it doesn't mean that you fail. It just depends on how you answer the test. If the computer is already satisfied with your answers, then it will stop in any item. And for like 145, we have one nurse yesterday who passed at 145, and he was so devastated that he think that he will fail the exam, but when we got the results, he passed.
Oh, and how long does usually you will see you will know the result for the exam?
It is after 62 hours, but after sometimes it's after 24 hours after you can do. Sometimes the nurses do the PV trick, the person view trick, and there is a good pop up, there is a bad pop up there, and but the quick results, the official results, is after 62 hours.
One question that somebody asked me before, do they need to be licensed in the Philippines to take the Nclex?
Not necessarily. There are other board of nursing who will allow you to take the NCLEX even without a license in the Philippines. Like the New York board, that's one. Even if you don't have a license in the Philippines, but you graduated as BSN, then you can take NCLEX through New York Board of Nursing. Also in Texas Board of Nursing, if you graduated within the past 4 years, you can take the NCLEX through Texas Board without the license in the Philippines. In Washington State also, we can process without a license. Sometimes there are, and Hawaii and Florida don't need license in the Philippines or in your native country.
Oh, that's really, really, really nice to know, especially for those people who are having a hard time to pass the PH board exams. And can you give us like there are some nurses who don't even know where to start. Can you tell us just a brief steps on where to start the process?
Okay, so after you graduate, and even if you don't take the nursing licensure examination, we can start the process. If you want to apply for New York Board of Nursing, then we will only need like your transcript of records, RLE, your college diploma, and your passport copy.
Okay. So because I know that there are some states where actually easy, you can easily apply for NCLEX. Is New York one of them?
Yes, New York is the easiest to apply for NCLEX because there are only minimum requirements, and also you don't need the NLE to take the exam. So if you don't have a license in the Philippines, it's okay that we will process it through New York Board of Nursing.
Okay. And also one of the question is, do they need experience to take the NCLEX?
No, for New York board, they don't need experience at all. So you don't need a license in the Philippines. You don't need to have an experience at all. Also, for Texas Board of Nursing, you have to have an experience within the past 4 years, or you graduated within the past 4 years. Illinois Board of Nursing don't need an experience also, but we need a license in the Philippines for you to take the NCLEX through Illinois Board of Nursing.
Okay, that is a very, very good information that we got here. And how long is the process? Because most of the time, my friends or relative will ask me, how long is your process? Because whenever they hear of America, they will also like, the first thing that comes to their mind is very tedious, very long process and frustrating. How long is the process po?
So for New York Board of Nursing, the processing right now, because there's a lot of nurses who have applied for New York, so it is like 8 to 9 months processing for you to get your eligibility or approval to take the NCLEX. Because from the time that the nursing board receives your license verification, if you have a license, and from the time that they receive your school credentials, then the nurse unit will forward your documents to comparative department, and comparative department has 50 other professions that they are evaluating. So right now they're so backlogged that it takes like 8 to 9 months for you to get your approval. For Texas Board of Nursing, it depends on how fast your credential evaluation is issued by CGFNS, because both Texas and Illinois board, we need credential evaluation. So if the process in evaluation in CGFNS is so fast, sometimes we can get your CES report issued in 2 months time. And if there is no problem with the signatures or signatory of the school, then the report will be issued as fast as 2 months.
Okay, so it's really varies from state to state din po,
Yes,
no?
yes.
So from eligibility to ATT, is there like, do you think, is there like an average, like especially with the COVID right now, what is our average processing time?
For Texas and Illinois board, may be from 5 to 6 months or 4 to 5 months, but for New York board, it's like 8 to 9 months until you get your ATT.
Your ATT.
Yeah.
So even though New York is like you can easily take NCLEX in New York, but it takes about 8 to 9 months to get from eligibility to ATT. So ATT is authorization to take. It means that you are ready to take your NCLEX examination. So from when they get the ATT, can they even reschedule that? Like for example, there are some nurses who are not even, they feel like they are not ready to take the examination yet. Can they reschedule the examination whenever they already have the ATT?
Yes. So from the time that you get your ATT after you pay Pearson VUE, then it varies. So for New York Board of Nursing, we in IPAS, we will get your ATT after 24 to 48 hours, because we have someone who will call the board. So when we call the board, we will only call them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's the only time that we are allowed to call the New York Board of Nursing. So when we call on Tuesday or Thursday, like within an hour or in 24 hours, you will get your ATT. But for Texas board, sometimes it will be fast, like in 24 hours, or sometimes you will get it in a month, depending on if the requirements are already received by the board and updated in your portal, then your ATT will be issued right away. Also, in Illinois Board of Nursing, the ATT will, Brian in continental testing will issue your ATT in 24 to 48 hours, sometimes in 5 days. And so, to answer the question, if you can reschedule, yes, you can. So, if we have rescheduled you, like, you can, we will reschedule you next month, and then you feel that you are not ready to take the exam yet, so we can reschedule you. We will only chat with the customer service representative in Pearson View, and they will check the availability of the exam in the specific location. Like if you are in the Philippines, we could check if there is an available date, like February 24, and you want February 24 and there is an available date, then you can just chat with the customer representative and they will reschedule you. There is no fee to reschedule.
Okay, I was actually about to ask about the fee, so good thing. So, so as per Miss Jean, so whenever you already have your authorization to take and you feel like you're not ready yet, so she said you can always reach out to them and reschedule your examination without fee. Okay, Miss Jean, and one of the question, like a very important one, how much is it? How much is the process for Nclex?
So it depends on the Board of Nursing. For right now, the New York is the cheapest one because we don't go through the credential evaluation in CGFNS. So the application would range from 800 plus to like 896, something like that. That's our fee in IPAS. For Texas Board of Nursing, it will be like more than 1,000, and also in Illinois Board of Nursing, it is more than 1,000 because we have to go through the credential evaluation in CGFNS. The CES alone is $365 that we pay in CGFNS. That's why the Texas and Illinois Board is kind of a little bit expensive than New York Board of Nursing.
So it's like about 800 to 1,000.
Yes.
Like for the processing. But that's gonna be for the processing, right? But they still have to shed out money whenever they need to process their like papers in school.
Yes.
So yeah, possibly like around like
$1,200.
$1,200.
Yeah.
So you just multiply that and with the current exchange rate in the Philippines right now, so you will get like that's the average. So if they did not pass the NCLEX, do they need to pay like all over again, or it's just gonna be one process?
So if you don't pass in Texas Board of Nursing and Illinois Board of Nursing, the step is we have to reprocess again the application to get your eligibility again. So we will send another application form through if for Illinois Board of Nursing. For Texas Board is just an online application. So we pay the application again, and then we will pay the Pearson View again. So unlike in New York Board, that's why a lot of nurses also like New York Board, because the application does not expire. It is valid until you pass. So if knock on the wood, you will fail on your first try, then we will just pay Pearson View to get your ATT again.
So it's just gonna be the ATT. And for New York, how much is usually the ATT?
So we pay Pearson View $200 for you to retake the exam, and if you are you're taking it in the Philippines or in India, outside the United States, we will be paying $150 for scheduling of your exam.
That's very nice to know. And one question also, do they need IELTS? That's one of the questions from a friend of mine. Do they need IELTS to take the NCLEX?
It depends on the board. Washington Board of Nursing needs English test for you to have your approval. Texas Board of Nursing and Illinois Board of Nursing and New York Board of Nursing, you don't need to have the English test before you take the NCLEX. But all the like if you come here in the US and through employer base, then we will be needing your English test because we will get the visa screen certificate from CGFNS. And one of the requirements for visa screen is your English test, either IELTS or TOEFL. So all employment-based applications or petition, you should be taking your English test after the Nclex. So the important thing is that you need to pass your Nclex first, and then you can take the IELTS after. The IELTS has an expiry. It's only good for 2 years. So if you take the IELTS first and it's been more than 2 years that you didn't pass the Nclex exam, then you will retake again. So it is advisable you pass the Nclex and then you take the IELTS afterwards.
Okay, so just a recap. So it means that Miss Jean is saying that for most states, you don't need to IELTS right away to take your Nclex. But after Nclex examination, when you are ready to file your EB3, right? We call it EB3. That's for what do you call it? Like a skilled nursing, or I mean like a skilled workers here for United States. Once you feel like you're ready for it, like for the immigrant visa, you need to take the IELTS because that is one of the requirements for to process the papers.
Yeah. So Washington board need IELTS, Arizona need IELTS for Nclex Arizona, Wisconsin need CP, that's the CGFNS qualifying exam. So to get the certificate for CGFNS qualifying exam, I mean, for you to get the CGFNS certificate, you need to pass the CGFNS qualifying exam and also IELTS. That's for the Wisconsin board. So there are a lot of states that does not need English test, and there are some states that needs English test for you to take the NCLEX. And one of that is Maryland also. Even for endorsement, Maryland needs English test for NCLEX and for endorsement.
Okay, so I think the first step on that they need to decide is what state do you want to be. It doesn't necessarily mean that if you take the NCLEX in that state, doon na rin kayo mag-work. So it means that you're just taking that NCLEX and then afterwards you can endorse it to the state that you want to live and you want to stay or you want to practice your career. And let's go. So before we go to the visa screen part, I just want to let our viewers know that we are just talking about NCLEX processing here. We are not talking about the visa screen, I mean the immigrant filing itself. So we're gonna talk about that later. So Miss Jean, before we go on that part, can you give us ideas about the NCLEX reviews? I know that iPass processing is also also has a review
program.
Review program.